Hey everyone, welcome to Unapologetically Me with Charlotte, the space where we keep it real about life, teaching, and growing through it all. Today I have some ladies here who wanted to chime in on soft parenting and what it's like now and what it was like then. We have Darlene and Tiffany. Say hey, y'all.
Hey.
This should be fun. Let's get into it. So, how would you guys define soft parenting in your own words?
Parent being soft, no.
Yeah.
A parent that has relaxed ideals and thoughts about children, allowing them to be more free and vocal and more decisive in what happens to them.
Soft parenting is kind of more like giving them a say when, giving them a say, letting them be a part of the discussion, asking questions instead of telling them. And so, because when back in my day, it wasn't no soft parenting. If your mama said do something, that's what you did. You just do it. But today is, Johnny, will you sit down, please? When in our day it was, I said get over there and sit down somewhere. And so soft parenting is asking them, using those questions to kind of let them have a say in what's going on.
Very calm and laid back and not bothered, not easily bothered.
Yeah, given a lot of choices.
Lots of choices.
Yeah, but not a lot of consequences.
And yeah, because every consequence is going to do something to their mental health. every time you give them a consequence, it's going to do something to their mental health. If so I was like, my Lord.
Yeah.
I said we should be crazier than a Bessie bee if every time we got a consequence, it did something to our mental health. But everything is about mental health conscious and all their trauma, and and I feel like with the soft parenting, them kids them picked up on these buzzwords. I'm triggered. I wish I would have told my mama I was triggered.
Yeah, but she would show us a different kind.
So, do you think soft parenting is causing problems in our classrooms and in our schools?
I think with the different expectations, we have totally different sets of expectations. The school versus what you're getting at home. And because of that, it could be a problem with the child trying to adjust and adapt to what's going on in school, and then knowing that it's totally different at home. So I think that it can have a negative impact, because of the expectations that we have in school. We have to have a broader scope because we have more children that we deal with, so, or maybe a smaller scope because of the number of children that we deal with. Because I might not have time to sit down and calmly and quickly and just so ever so lightly address your issue with you when I got 16 children over here that are talking and out of control and doing everything else because my attention has now been averted to one individual.
So when I think about soft parenting in the classroom, I think about that relationship and the relationship. Like, so where it hurts in the classroom is that if the child has a lot of choices at home, and then you get to my class, you only got two choices, this or that. So that's where I feel like that disconnect comes, because the authoritarian in their household is giving them a lot of choices, and then you come into a new area with the classroom teacher, and they're expecting us to to kind of like operate like their parents do. And so when you have 16 or 17 different personalities, 25 different personalities sitting in your classroom, it's can you imagine what it would be like if you get a choice, you get a choice, you get a choice? So you have to set your tone and your expectations. And I don't think some of the, like I told a parent the other day, your child can have 100% of your attention because that's the only child. I said, but he ain't the only child in here. So when he gets with the teacher, he got to learn how to wait his turn, learn how to that she can't respond to you right then, in those different things. And so I just think it's a disconnect, but about because a parent, you only got your child. As teachers, y'all got everybody kids. And then when y'all they don't work right, then I got to get y'all kids. So, but but I think that that's where the disconnect is, because a parent just have to worry about theirs. Teachers have to worry about everyone. So you have to set some expectations in the classroom, and you can't give everybody 7 or 8 different choices. It's either this or that, and we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Okay. Well, what is one thing that parents today do that would have never flown when we were kids back in the day?
I wish my teacher would have called my mama. And for the fact that the teacher had to call your mama, whatever that, and I'm not saying some teachers don't kind of exaggerate what happens, but if my mom said if it got to the point where they even thought they had to exaggerate what happened, then you was doing something wrong. So then the teacher is in the right, because she shouldn't even had to look at you, is what my mama was saying. She shouldn't have had to address you. You know how to go in there and act like you got some sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, you had to. It was no other way. You're not gonna. What the teacher said goes. You're in that classroom, and we were all taught that you go to school to learn. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go in there and do whatever you got to do to learn, but you most definitely not gonna go in there and be disrespectful and talk back and just none of that. It wasn't possible, because if that got back home, you knew what was gonna happen.
I wish, and I was a talker. I ain't even gonna lie, I was a talker. And if the teacher called my mama house and she said that I was talking, if I said I wasn't talking, she said, "Well, you thought about talking." She said, "You must have looked like you were talking. Don't even look like you were talking." I mean, and what I'm saying is not saying that. I'm just saying that at that time back then, the teachers had almost 100% of parent support.
Mm-hmm.
The parents supported the teacher. They advocated for their child.
Yeah.
But they knew their kids. My mama knew me, so she knew that if my teacher called me and said I was talking, and like I said, but mama, I wasn't talking. She said, "Well, you thought about it," because she knows me.
Yeah, parents know their parents know their kids, but parents will deny to the end what their kids are doing.
Yeah, a lot of them say, "Well, I don't believe my child did that. I just don't believe my child did that." And if your child hears you saying all that, then they're gonna pick up real quick. Oh, okay. All right, Mom.
I guess I shouldn't say they deny what their kids are doing, but everybody is not lying on your child.
Yeah, that's you know what, and so it was a situation where my son teacher sent me a note home. I don't know what. I guess he was talking too much or doing something. But the fact that his teacher sent me a note home, we had to address it. And I said, "What?" He told me what happened, and he was like that he wasn't doing this, and she was just doing these dojo points and wasn't telling them how to do the dojo points. And so I said, "Oh well, then we just got to go have a conversation with your teacher." I said, "But I tell you what, if you don't say the same thing to me that you just said to me in front of that teacher, we're gonna have a problem." And I told him that. I said, "We're going to have a problem." I said, "Because don't tell me one thing and get in there and then start flaking. Don't." And basically what I was saying is, I will advocate for you, but you better not lie to me. And that's the thing with, before, and I tell teachers all the time, y'all better call them before they get home. I said, because if you call a parent before the child gets home, then you get to play offense. But if you call them and the kid get home and get their side of the story first, and now you got to play defense. And so it just still goes back to that connection and that relationship.
Yep. That's why I like to have the kid call themselves.
The girl.
Call from the classroom. As soon as it happens, if we can find that time to stop right then, and you call them. You tell them what you did. And then we can deal with, let the parent hear first from you, not from me, because you telling on self. You turning self in. And then I just come along to say, "Hey, well, yes, ma'am, this is what happened. Yes, and this is, and there, by that time, that defense mechanism that was thrown up when the phone rang, that wall has went down, because it was the child that you spoken to, not the teacher first."
Yeah. And that's, and again, And I think that when we wait and wait and wait and let stuff build up, that's what, and they don't, and believe me, when you wait and wait, they done went home and told their moms all kinds of stuff. And every day, and all the parents are doing is putting it in a file cabinet until you call. Well, then my child said this, then my child said that. So whether or not soft parenting is affecting the classroom or not, yeah, it is. But we can do some things to combat that by when I was my last class, I knew every parent. We was on first name basis. I call and say Nakisha, and she said, "What's she doing?" Because we had that we had that partnership.
Okay. Now, one thing would like to ask is, what is one old school parenting approach that actually worked better than the new school approach? Or what is one new school parenting approach that actually worked better than the new school approach?
I'm going to say the old school approach was the talk before you went somewhere. You know, that talk. When we go into this store, you better not do this and you better not do that. And why I say that is it worked because that tone was set, expectations were set. And if you stepped out of line, you got in that store and you asked for something, you know you're going to get in trouble because she done already laid the law down.
Yes.
And having that talk before you go somewhere, when we get over to these people's house, you better not embarrass me. You know, that talk before. And you know, that, you know, because the expectations had already been set by how they were supposed to act. Now, the one thing is, you know, and sometimes I did not like not having a voice. My parents, they will tell you better shut your mouth and your mind. And I think that you need to do a temperature check with your kids and to see how they're feeling, how they're feeling about some things, because you have to do that temperature check. But you also, my parents weren't touchy-feely or lovey-dovey, so you know, so it was very rare that we got a "I love you" or anything. We knew they loved us, but it was very rare because you know they just going their day to life. But I make sure every time I talk to my kids, before we get off the phone, before we leave out, I tell them, "I love you." You know, I'd be mad at my daughter. We'd be about to hang up on each other. I said, "Yeah, but I still love you. Love you too." And she'd be like, "Love you too." And so just letting them know that and doing that temperature check.
Right.
I'm trying to think about that. That was a good point of when they set it up for you, so you knew what you couldn't do. You know, and another thing was when the parents were talking. When the parents are talking and adults is at the house, children better get lost. You better become invisible.
Seen and not
you
heard.
better not
You
say
not be
a
seen
word.
and heard.
They better think you ain't got no kids before they know you in that house.
Yes.
Because you were not allowed in that conversation. And children today can tell you all of mama's business, all of what's going on, everything that is happening in the house. So they can tell it all because they're right there. They're included. They're involved. I mean, my parents would sit in the living room when they had company. We weren't allowed to come through the living room. We were down in the family room. Don't you come up them stairs for nothing.
My dad hit the steps because he made the attic the girls' room. And when they had their company over and the adults were around, we were not allowed to sit around the adults.
Could not.
And I wish I would. And you know, you got to ask your mama something. You be... Mama, excuse me, and you know you come in there with that excuse me.
I wasn't coming in with excuse me nothing. If I had to walk through the living room, I was going to be a flash. I was going to get through that living room so fast they didn't realize it was me.
My mother's thing was, don't be looking in grown folks' mouth.
Yes. And then they would say, you be walking around, and I got in trouble for that all the time. My mama said, why are you looking at what my tonsils looks like? Why you all in my mouth? Get out of grown folks' mouth.
Yeah, and I think that's why we didn't carry as much as these kids today, because these kids, they have so much. They know about bills and just they have burdens. They carry burdens of families because they sit and they know about
it all.
Their parents' business.
Right. And you know, I didn't discuss with my kids And me being a single parent, I didn't discuss the child support with my kids. When they got old enough to get the child support card, I gave it to them. But I didn't discuss the child support with them. They didn't know whether or not I'll never forget the first time my son said, "Hey mom, did my daddy child support hit?"
Uh-uh.
you know. And so did that child support hit? Because they didn't know nothing about, they didn't know anything about that. They didn't know anything when me and I co-parented with their father. And so even if we weren't getting along, the kids didn't know because that wasn't their business. And parents sit around and they expose the children to too much too soon, and so, like I said, we grew up poor and I ain't even know it.
Yeah,
we grew up poor and we didn't even know it. We did not know it, but
didn't know it. We didn't know it.
Yeah.
I think I was grown and I was like, I was poor. But and everybody around us was. So it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a case of haves or have-nots. We were actually a real community, and I think that that's what's lacking today is that community. And I come from a small town. So your teachers was your aunties. They were the people that you went to church with. They were, your mama's friends. Your mama went to school with them. And so it was just a different type of connection.
Okay. All right, ladies, it's been fun. So, if you've laughed or nodded, share this episode with a friend and subscribe or follow me. Let's keep this conversation going because being real about our kids and ourselves, that's how we grow. This is Charlotte. This is Unapologetically Me. Keep showing up, keep loving yourself, and keep being unapologetically you. And I would like to thank Tiffany and Darlene for sharing their point of view with us today. It was fun, ladies. Thank you so much. I look forward to having you back on.